Hi and welcome back to the channel and the video. Before you start with the comments, I know it looks a bit mad having the microphone here. In my last video I didn't use it for the camera facing portion of the introduction, and the audio quality wasn't that great. So hopefully now you'll appreciate that the microphone is going to be in shot, but it is better audio. So please subscribe for the effort that I've put into doing that and making myself look a bit stupid having the microphone here on the side perched. So let's get into the video, and what we're looking at today is undervolting, and it's probably important for you to understand what undervolting is before I go on. Hopefully you probably already know, so I'll be very basic with this. All CPUs and GPUs are set to withstand and take in a certain amount of volts. Undervolting, simply lowering that. The benefits of undervolting is better thermal performance, so you're not going to provide so much heat or output energy, and you're going to save power for the environment. And also, if you're running off of a laptop, you're going to save battery consumption and longevity. So the reason why I wanted to do that is because, as you can see, we're in an enclosed space behind me. The desktop I'm working with is the 3070 GPU. The CPU, which what we're undervolting, is a Intel 10850K, and I'm going to jump straight into the video. Really, that's all you need to know beforehand, and let's just get on with the video. So I appreciate I probably didn't do a very good job there of explaining what undervolting is or what we're going to be doing here, but I wanted to try and jump into the footage straight away. So undervolting, as I kind of said, is pumping less volts into your system effectively. That is the long and short of what you're doing, for the reasons I explained. Now, if you pump in too little, you're obviously going to run into stability issues. Either it's going to crash straight away, or whilst you try and play a game, it's going to also crash. So here what we're looking at is our hardware monitor, and we're looking at the thermals here. We're looking at the clock speed, so you can see a baseline of what we're working to, and this is whilst idle, so thermals around 40, that's fine, and your clock speed can go to about 500 or 5 gig rather. Okay, so this is the demonstration of what you're going to be doing when you look to undervolt your CPU. Specifically, if you're using Intel. Now, AMD have their own similar software, and it's going to be the same type of steps. But with Intel, you're going to download this program, Intel Extreme Tuning Utility. Once that's downloaded and installed, run it, and you'll pop up with the screen very much like this. And as you can see, there are a load of options on the left hand side. Now, all you need to worry about is the advanced tuning option. So I'm going to click that now, and that'll take you to this page. And the only thing then that you need to look at as I readjust it is the core voltage offset up in the top right hand side. And I do recommend making this full screen, otherwise it looks a bit jumbled. So you don't need to touch anything else on this screen, especially if you don't really know what it's doing. Just look at the core voltage offset at the top right hand side, and what you can do there is obviously lower it. Now, you can lower it basically all the way, so you're not providing any power to the CPU. That's just going to result in your system crashing. All you need to do is tweak it very, very marginally. I originally tried 0.125 as shown there, and although the stress test ran and it was running fine, when I started the game just crashed straight away. I tried down to 0.11, and again the game played for a while, but it was unstable. Eventually, after a few games, it crashed. So I tried again at 0.1, and that actually seemed to work best. And that's all you need to do. You then click on the button down below to the left hand side where I've gone with my mouse, and you click on apply, and that's it. You can also click on the save button over on the right hand side if you want to save a profile to quick access. But once you've done this once, that's it. You never even need to look at this program again. As you start up, it's almost like you've changed the BIOS, which is another way of doing it, although a bit more complicated because you have to access the BIOS. You might as well just do it on this program. Do it once, and that's all you ever have to do. And that's as easy as the demonstration is. It's not a very in-depth thing. So the other part of the video I wanted to show you is it worth actually doing this? Is it worth undervolting your CPU in a desktop? Now I'm looking at probably a worst case scenario. As you saw from the introduction, my PC is in an enclosed space. Doesn't really have anywhere to put the heat that the CPU and GPU are producing. As you can see from this clip, their case actually is quite big. It has good airflow going through it, 5 fans, and the GPU fans additionally. But the exhaust has nowhere to go, hitting the back wall of the cabinet. I have put some holes in there to try and help, but it hasn't really helped. As you can now see from the gameplay, we are looking at quite high temperatures for a CPU. Now, granted, I've had to play this game quite a long time to get up to this. Usually it sort of sits at about 70 for the first hour or so, and then it jumps up to about 80, or slowly jumps up to about 80 degrees, which for me is too hot for your CPU whilst gaming. Funnily enough though, it only works or it only has this issue on this game, Call of Duty, Black Ops and Warzone. Other games it sort of sits fine actually. So the key thing here to look at is not just the core temperature of your CPU, not just the package temperature, but you want to be looking at all your cores. So we're running 10 cores with this particular CPU, and as you can see, they do bounce around quite a bit, but they're sort of high 70s, low 80s, and that again is just too high, and I really want to try and bring that down. Now, I can't put the heat anywhere. If it wasn't in an enclosed space, the PC would do a lot better dispersing that heat, but I have to work with what I'm given. So let's have a look at what happens when we do the undervolt, and is it actually worth it for a desktop? So here we go. We are running Call of Duty again, the same map, the same gun, the same everything, even the same game mode. So as close to a good test as I can make, or a similar test. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that instead of running at 5 gigs, we're now at 4.8, which isn't a huge deal breaker, because when you look at the frames per second, we're still pretty much at the same. So performance here has not changed, and we are running at 0.1 less volts, which is reasonably drastic. You can see from the GPU tab at the top, we're at the same temperature, high percentage of usage, almost 100%, and still overclocked at 1.8 gig. So absolutely fantastic from that point of view. Has it done the main job though? And that was lowering temperatures. And yes, of course it has. You can see we've gone from almost 80 or around about 80 right down to under 70, 65-ish to 70, 71 at a push. So we've really reduced the temperatures here. Now, we'll say the undervolt that we've done here is probably a bit too extreme. Whilst the frames per second are quite high still, around 200, so really high on max settings. The problem that I'm having is that there are a few times where the frame time just is not smooth, and we're running into areas where it feels like it's just slightly hesitant. It's just slightly hitting bumps along the road, and it's just not a seamless interaction. And also, even at 0.1 offset or minus 0.1, we're not stable. This is not a stable system. Actually, whilst I was trying to make this video and do the video editing, which is a CPU intensive thing, obviously, it actually crashed, and I lost quite a lot of the editing. So I've tried to rush through this bit to kind of catch up on my lost time there. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give you my recommendations. Now, if you've got a desktop and you're in a normal circumstance with good airflow, there is absolutely no point in undervolting your CPU or even GPU. Now, if you've got a desktop and you're like me in the worst case scenario in a cupboard, and you need to get rid of your heat, first I'd try another fan behind it, which is what I am doing. I am going to keep the undervolt on, but I'm going to really reduce it back to maybe 0.015, something like that. I'm not going to go for 0.1. It's not necessary. I'm going to try and get the core temps to, or the core temps to drop a few degrees and maybe sit around 70 as opposed to 80. But I really wouldn't recommend this if you are on a desktop. It's just not necessary. However, If you're gaming on a laptop, and I know a lot of people are gaming with gaming laptops at the moment, then by all means you want to be doing this. Your core temperatures are probably going to be 90 to 100, and that's just too high even for a laptop, even though they're designed to withstand that. Try and use this to drop it down and get somewhere around 80 perhaps. So all in all, it might have sounded like a bit of a stupid video because I'm reverting and I'm almost eliminating this undervolt, although I'm keeping it just very marginally. It was really interesting for me to run through this and see the benefits, pros and cons, because I do think there are benefits to doing this still, and like I said, I am going to keep it on just a very marginal ratio. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and again, please subscribe. There will be more tech videos, there will be more gameplay videos, and I will be doing a gaming setup video soon as well, so you can see how to game to the maximum in a constrained space. Thanks very much.